I watched a manufacturing company lay off people for the second time in 3 years, and for the same reason both times: bad leadership decisions. And here's the part that nobody wants to say out loud: their best people aren't leaving because of layoffs. They're leaving because they don't trust the leadership anymore. So let me ask you this question: if your top performers had options today, would they stay? I'm Myles Threatt. Thank you for joining me for Legacy Leaders Lounge. I help operations, supply chain, and manufacturing leaders build adaptive, high-performing teams that thrive in the chaos. Today, I'm breaking down the ADAPT model, my 5-pillar framework that helps manufacturing leaders keep talent even when their supply chain is on fire. And yes, we're going to talk about the tariffs, the volatility in the marketplace, and why throwing money at it is the laziest retention strategy on earth. So let's dive on in. But before I explain the ADAPT model, we all need to get a good picture of the battlefield that we're all faced with leading in right now. And I know it's not easy. See, we're not in a hiring problem. We're in a leadership credibility problem right now. And here's the macro reality that people aren't really talking about a lot. We're staring at a 2 million worker shortage by 2030 with no solution in mind right now. We also know that there's 7.2 million able-bodied men, that's right, men, I'm calling you out, who are not working, not in the workforce. Boomers, they're retiring at a rate of about 10,000 a day, and all that knowledge and experience is walking right out the door, and most companies are just letting it walk right out. And Gen Z, who are entering the workforce, they got a totally different set of expectations that most companies aren't prepared for. And the truth is simple: talent is the real bottleneck. It's not technology. Yeah, we're speeding up with this AI and automation right now, but that ain't the problem. Everyone is faced with a talent problem. Now, if you start to layer on the supply chain volatility right now and all this tariff stuff that we're still trying to figure out, that's some real shit causing some real chaos. And here's what I heard at a global supply chain symposium recently, and this scared the shit out of everybody. See, this tariff stuff, they'll make that change and decision on a Saturday night. Yep, happens on a Saturday. And they're going to implement it by Wednesday. That gives you 4 days of scrambling for suppliers, contracts, pricing, inventory. And then what about your customer commitment that goes along with that? Everything is on fire at that point. And most companies, you can't move that fast because your decision-making process are too damn slow. So guess what you do? You panic. Let me tell you a story about a real company, and I gotta keep the name anonymous. Okay, they're a major manufacturing company, strong name brand in their industry, great product, good people working for them, and they were taking off. They had a small one-line operation that they were going to expand into multiple lines and multiple shifts and just take off. Big dreams, big hopes, and they did. And they made some very avoidable calls early on that they could have. They paid better attention, understood their numbers more. But 6 months later, they were laying off a whole shift. They didn't anticipate. They didn't make no adjustments. They just cut the throat of that whole shift. Might as well line them out the door and put them in front of a firing squad. They had all this excess inventory, had supply chain chaos, and they had to let that whole shift go. And guess what? It happened again. They just had their second layoff in 3 years. A very similar root cause. During that tariff volatility, their executive leadership made some avoidable calls. Again, they didn't anticipate and they didn't adjust. And they had their second layoff in 3 years. Same root cause. And now their best leaders are quietly job hunting. Not because they're disloyal, but because trust got broken again. So if layoffs aren't the real retention killer, what is? See, most leaders, they think retention is all about money. You just got to throw more money at another party, more pizza, whatever it might be. But it's not. See, retention is about belief. Do your people believe you see reality? Do they believe you tell the truth? Do they believe you'll protect the team when things are really hard? And here's what I see over and over again when leaders lose talent. See, they skip steps. Problems hit and they jump straight to a decision. They don't communicate. See, that decision gets made in a room far away somewhere, and then the next thing you know, it's announced on the floor. They don't adapt their leadership style to the moment, and they damage trust. And then they act surprised when people leave. And here's the real issue. So your workforce, they want 5 things right now. They want purpose, they want growth, they want mentorship, transparency, and finally, they want trust. If you're missing those, you can raise pay all you want. You're still going to lose your best people. So what does leadership look like when the pressure is real? This is where ADAPT comes into play. ADAPT has 5 pillars in the framework. Most leaders will skip at least one, and then they'll sit there and wonder, why did it collapse? So let's walk through it the way it's meant to work. That first pillar is awareness. Awareness is seeing the real problem, not the surface problems. Seeing tariff volatility, awareness looks like you're monitoring signals, you're talking to your suppliers, and you're asking, what could break next, and what's our plan? In retention, awareness is noticing the human signals out there. Stress, silence, cynicism, your best people disengaged. Those are all signals coming to you right now. See, company X I just talked about, they missed both. They didn't see the external shift. They didn't see the trust eroding until it was too late. So ask yourself, what am I not seeing right now? And once you see it clearly, the next question is, what are you going to do with it? And the second pillar is decision. Decision is choosing the path with your people in mind, not at them. See, in tariffs, it's not reacting. It's choosing suppliers, choosing pricing, your product mix, customer communication. Is making those choices. In retention, the decision is how you're going to handle the hard news. You don't just announce it out of the blue. No warning, no forethought. You explain the why. You involve the people. You ask, how do we get through this together? See, that previous company I was telling you about, they made a decision at people, not with them. And that's where trust started to crack. The next big decision, ask yourself, am I doing this with my people or at them? But even good decisions fail if you refuse to change your approach. The third pillar is adjust. And adjust is your flexibility under pressure. And right now, you're going to need a lot of flexibility because you got to let go. You got to let go of those old playbooks that aren't working anymore. See, in supply chain chaos, adjust means you got to diversify your suppliers. You got to build contingencies into your plan, and you need to build the ability to move faster in your plan. In leadership, adjust means changing how you're showing up. More communication, more transparency, more involvement. See, that previous company, they stayed rigid. Same decision-making style, same communication style, same outcome. Where are you being rigid right now? And what is that rigidity costing you? Now I'm getting to the part that leaders love to talk about, but leaders often misunderstand. And it's that fourth pillar of performance. You love to throw around those dashboards, have those wonderful KPIs. But guess what? Performance isn't just cost control. Performance is your results plus your retention, plus your engagement, plus your velocity. And volatility in the chaos that we're dealing with, performance is navigating that chaos without destroying your team. See that previous company I told you about? They didn't drive performance. They drove panic and fear. They cut people instead of solving the system. So what are you driving? Results or reactions? And here's the truth. None of this works long term without this final fifth pillar, and it's trust. Trust is your foundation. Without it, you have nothing to build upon. See, trust is built through consistency, transparency, follow through, and sometimes vulnerability. See, in chaos, trust sounds like this. Here's what we know. Here's what we don't. Here's what we're doing next. See, that previous company I told you about, they didn't lose people. They lost belief. And once belief is gone, your best talent is gone with it. They quietly exit. What's your trust score if your team could anonymously grade you right now? Do you think you'd like that answer? Now here's what makes ADAPT different. It's not just 5 tips. It's an actual sequence. See, the ADAPT kind of compounds upon itself. That awareness, it helps you see reality. And once you see that reality, you've got some decisions you've got to make. And those decisions help you create a direction that you're going to go in. That direction doesn't necessarily have to be perfect. Most likely it's not. And that's why adjust keeps you flexible. And in this marketplace and the things we're dealing with in the world right now, you need to be very flexible. And that flexibility is going to help you drive those performance outcomes. We're not giving up on performance. It's still important, but that performance is not going to stay there if you don't have this final piece, and this final piece is what keeps it all together. And it's that trust. Trust is the component that keeps it all together. And it's going to be that component that helps you speed up this whole process. Now, if you skip one step, the whole thing becomes unstable. And honestly, the company I used in the illustration earlier, that's what happened to them. They didn't fail because the tariffs changed. They failed because the leadership just didn't adapt. And this is where it gets personal, because leadership just isn't business. It's legacy. I connect the adapt model to what I call the 5 F's. Faith, family, finances, fitness, and fun. It's part of my legacy compass because I believe leadership always bleeds into life, whether you admit it or not. At least that's been my experience with it, because I believe if I lead effectively outside my home but fail inside my home, I pretty much failed in general. Of those 5 F's, the first one is faith, and that is your value-based decisions. It's not fear-based decisions. Right now, as a leader in the chaos, you're faced with some tough decisions, and you need to have some strong values to stand on to make these decisions right now. In family, that's a culture where you develop people. You're not just using these people. You're helping them grow and develop because they're being impacted by your decisions. Their whole families are being impacted by your decisions. And this finance part, see, retention saves money. That turnover is super expensive. But also know leaders, they want to build some kind of generational wealth that they can leave for their family so they have better opportunities for themselves. In fitness and leadership, that's burnout prevention. You taking care of yourself so you can lead better every day. But also it means you're taking care of your life so you can be there for your family. So you have that health to live the life that you want to live, to be able to enjoy being with your family. And the final part of it is fun. At work and leadership, yeah, that's that psychological safety that so many people are looking for in the workplace. But it also means you're having fun on the journey of leadership yourself. You know how to turn off your work, disengage to take care of yourself, and be there for the people you love and that love you the most. See, that previous company I talked about earlier, they didn't just lose headcount. They lost culture. And culture is what survives chaos. So here's the next step. Very simple and practical. If this hit home with you, do one thing. Take the free ADAPT leadership assessment in the description below. It's an 8-minute quiz. You'll get your score, your ADAPT profile, and the one pillar that you need to be focusing on right now. If you want help applying this in real world situations you're dealing with, this tariff chaos right now, you got high turnover, engagement problems, cost problems within your organization, I'm launching the Ops Leader 30-Day ROI Challenge. It's a sprint, real scenarios, real accountability. If you want the details, comment ADAPT below and I'll send the details over to you. Remember this, your retention problem isn't a compensation problem. It's a leadership problem, and ADAPT is the framework that fixes it. I'm Myles Threatt. Thank you for joining me for Legacy Leaders Lounge. I'll see you in the next episode.